day and welcome to the Power Up. I'm your host, Tami Hill Thomas. So glad that you're joining us today as we get equipped, educated, empowered, and elevated to make a difference where we are. Today, no other day is so great to start with Inside the News as we recognize the great work recently released during this 75-year anniversary of NIDDK, of the National Institute of Kidney and Digestive Disorders. There we go. The National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Disorders. Come on, y'all. Let's say that 6 times fast. Woo! NIDDK does some amazing work with promoting health and wellness, sharing tips and viable resources so that we care for our inside. We've often only focused on externally what we look like, what we see in the mirror, and we forget that how our beats, how our stomach processes, how our circulatory system pushes blood, and how our immune systems fight disease all matter. For 75 years, NIDDK, the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases, there we go, has been a pioneer. And they have shared information that's helped with seniors, helped with preventing a lot of what could be turned into being a disease. Sometimes disorders and diseases that are diagnoses are often reversible. And for 75 years, they've shared a lot of key information that we should consider maintaining the resource to be aware of. Let me give you one that the producers shared that I thought was so important. Recently, NIDDK elevated the fact that the use of metformin in adults with diabetes has been linked to lower risk of long COVID. So for those who have been taking that metformin and they've been working to reverse diabetes, because even that is reversible. That is not a death sentence, family. It's just a matter of caring for ourselves and putting habits into place to make us better. They have found through research and studies with the National Institute of Health that adults who use the prescription drug metformin to treat their type 2 diabetes have lower risk of developing long COVID or dying after COVID-19 than people with diabetes who don't take that or who have other medications they may take. They literally launched a study of folks who are volunteers who did have that diagnosis and disability to help them get treatment to see what worked and what made a difference. Can I tell you how important research is to help us know what we can do moving forward, how much those clinical trials actually do make a difference? Because we know that metformin is meant to help control blood sugar. For those living with diabetes, it's all about regulating your sugars. And metformin is meant to reduce your blood sugar to help get it to a point where it's controllable. But to see if the similar drugs work for those with diabetes, the researchers examined nearly 38 million Americans to be able to compare how the COVID-19 epidemic impacted those. I want you to think about something. We lost a lot of family members during the COVID pandemic. Many of them living with diabetes or other disorders, other diseases. Because when you take prescription medication, it's not a cure. It's meant to help you maintain. So to have a cure for it, to make it reversible, that's the medication plus efforts that can help you, like how you handle your weight, the things that you eat, all of those type of things. But to hear that folks who already take metformin can see a difference if they deal with COVID, and the reality, COVID has not gone anywhere. Think about it this way. We have a regular flu season. The flu is always in the air. And if you don't have to worry about the flu, folks with colds, just the cold can knock you on your back. Airborne diseases, just like COVID. Might not be 19 anymore, but statistics and the CDC and so many other federal agencies who focus on disease management have said COVID is out in a new strand. So this happens to be a little bit of good news broken by NIDDK that if you're on your metformin and are taking it for your type 2 diabetes, the effects of COVID-19 could be so much better now than what those who weren't taking it or pre even understanding how a COVID-19 booster could have helped. It didn't even exist for a while, remember? We lost millions and millions of loved ones. But now research is helping us. I appreciate the fact that the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases takes time to not just research, but share the results. Because we, the common folk, need to know what we're dealing with in life and how we can be better. Happy 75th anniversary to NIDDK. The National Institute of Health does some amazing work. And now seeing that there's quick turnaround with results and how we can improve and grow is always great news. Family, we're so glad to have brought this information breaking fresh off the press. For those who have struggled every day wondering what diabetes will do to them, here's just a little bit of life. And there's more to come. We have an amazing expert that's going to give some insight and some answers to a question we received from a viewer just on this topic. So stay tuned, family. There's so much more after this.
Hello, all. It's S. Marie with the More Direction Agency, and today I challenge you to unlock your potential. You see, each and every one of us has a unique and brilliant light, and the world needs that brilliant light more now than ever. Understand, it's not about the obstacles we face, but more so how we rise above them. Learn to embrace every failure as a stepping stone because they are simply lessons in disguise. Know that you have the power to shape your future. So dream boldly, take action, and understand that you need to surround yourself with nothing but positivity. Learn to create positive changes. Understand that you are great and never be afraid of your own greatness. Your moment is now.
Welcome back, family. Welcome back. Welcome back. We're so glad that you're joining us on the Power Up, getting a true boost of what you need to win at life. Our platform is to share information and inspiration. And I'm so glad to be joined by a guest who does both on a daily basis. Welcome, if you will, Mr. Chauncey Pendleton, who is a health and fitness advocate who has been with us before. I'm so glad you're joining us again. Welcome, Chauncey.
Thank you. How are you, Tami?
Listen, I'm always great when the Yoda comes in the room. Let me tell you, one of the things that we discuss often and that I know is your platform, yes, healthcare, yes, wellness, yes, fitness, right? Those broad words. But you spend a lot of time advocating for those who can decrease being obese and understanding how obesity, it can be a choice and something that we don't have to live with. I want to share this statistic. In the United States, 39% of adults are obese, 31% are overweight, and 7% are severely diagnosed as obese. That means nearly 1 in 3 adults are considered overweight. 1 in 3. Tell me, if you will, why you feel this is so important.
It is But one, let me be direct. It is important because it's killing us. And we're looking right at it, but not really being as proactive to do something about it as we can be and should be. Now, you just gave a overall general statistic probably for the world, but let me narrow it down a little bit. I don't have the exact statistic, but more so something to think about. In the religious world, in the church world, that number is probably a lot higher because of the fact that, if you grew up, let me narrow it down a little further. In the African American community, it's going to be a lot higher because if you grew up around church, in church, no matter what your reformation may be, you would go to church, you go to eat. You go to church, you go to somebody's grandmama's house, your grandmama, big mama, your mother, whoever it is, after church and eat. Why? Because it was called Sunday dinner. Now, Sunday dinner did not consist of salads generally. A salad may have been a part of it, but most of the time it was going to be filled with things that were going to cause us health issues later on. And when I was thinking about this, believe yesterday, as it pertains to health and food choices and so forth. And a lot of times we hear, my grandfather ate this and he lived to be such and such. My great grandfather had this and they lived. You know why they could eat those things? Because of how it was processed. Because if you're in the South, they could take, at least for my family, they could take a whole hog, cook it outside, you take it, you eat it. Okay. What's happening now is we're getting that from a different source. So it's being processed differently. So the things that they're doing and using to process that hog is what is causing us the problems. So you say, well, I can't eat bacon and all. They ate bacon and all. They ate it because they raised the hog, they killed the hog, they butchered it up how they needed to do it, and they cooked it there. They knew what they fed that hog, and so it wasn't designed to kill us. But now that same hog is not raised by grandma and grandpa and great grandma and great granddad. That is raised on a farm where we don't know what goes into it. So when they go and they slaughter that hog, now all of the antibiotics, all of the things that went into raising that hog is now be entering into our bodies. So the same foods that granddad, great granddad could have eaten and still lived to see 90, 95 years old, we're being cut short in our 60s and our 70s. Or if we don't die, now we're living with these health conditions that you mentioned previously based upon how our food has been sourced and what we are putting into our bodies. And most of us, not all, most of us lead a predominantly sedentary lifestyle. So that is causing a problem. And somebody say, well, I get up and I move and I do something. Okay. Take a look at your ankles. Take a look at your hands. Those from the time you wake up in the morning and look at them at the time in which you go to bed. There's a change in there because that sitting causes that water retention. And we're looking at it, but we're not doing much about it. And we don't feel as though we need to do anything until we get that diagnosis from the doctor that says, if you don't, then your next alternative is this. Your next alternative is your blood pressure goes up. So what happens? You're on blood pressure medication. And what happens if you don't take your blood pressure medication? Your blood pressure gets out of control. Your kidneys are affected. What happens when your kidneys are infected? You end up having to take medication to try and get it back down. But if you don't do anything about it, the next step is dialysis. What happens if you don't go on dialysis? Those toxins build up in your body and you can die. So all of these things, it's a slippery slope of sorts, which is why these topics that you have here are so critical, so important in not just the African American community, but amongst people in general. And I tend to sort of focus on, you know, people of religion and people of faith because of the fact that we spend so much time focused on our faith, but we're not spending that same amount of time trying to live our best life so that the faith that we have, the faith that we try to pour into other people, the faith that we try to live by helps us. Because we don't tend to think about the fact that if I'm not healthy, I'm not living my best life for myself. If I'm not healthy, then I'm not living my best life for my family. If I'm not healthy, how can I tell someone else how they can be healthy and live their best life? The point of the gospel is to be able to lead people to Jesus Christ. But if I'm not a follower or a disciple of Jesus Christ, how am I going to be able to tell someone else how to get to Jesus Christ? Now, that does not mean that we cross every T, we dot every I. Everybody has issues. Everybody has mistakes. That's why God, even as it really pertains spiritually, that's why God said he gave us an advocate so that we have a space and a way to get to him when we fall and we fall short. As it pertains to our health, we're not, these numbers are not saying that you got to go around looking like Charles Atlas and Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk. No, most of these numbers really aren't accurate, in my opinion. Okay, they're not really skewed based upon ethnicity, and so, you know, the numbers may say a person of my height. I'm not a very tall guy. I'm not considered tall. My brother is a lot taller than me, and I'm older than he is. How's that? The numbers would say that I should be in the 150 to 175 pound range. Now, Tammy, you've known me for years. What would I look like weighing 150, 175 pounds? You would be calling me thinking that something that happened.
Right.
So the numbers aren't skewed that way for me. But what it is I can be healthy, but not looking like I'm sick. Some of us are looking sick, but think that we're healthy. Not because you are tiny, but because we're too big. And we're having these health conditions catch up to us. I remember years ago, one of our church leaders, before he passed away, he said to me, matter of fact, I was younger, I was drinking a Slurpee. And he said to me, he said, son, you better watch out on those. He said, don't drink too many of those. Lay off of those. He said, because, you know, I used to drink 2 of those a day. And then eventually it caught up with me. And I was like, all right, I understand. Okay, I get it. I didn't really stop, slow down too much. I wasn't drinking all the time, but more than what I needed to. But then I started, when I realized I had gone from this smaller guy to a bigger guy, and it wasn't due to weight training. Then I realized, you know what? He had something about that, because it is nothing but sugars. And our body does not process sugars the way that we think it does. You gave those statistics, you know, about the new foundation, about diabetes, digestive disorders, and kidney disorders. Those things are real. And we're trying to, we're sort of playing Russian roulette with our body, because we think, well, if they did it, I can do it. No. Genetics don't allow everybody to do everything that someone else does. You know, some people are genetically disposed to lose weight at a rapid pace. They can eat whatever and don't gain weight. Why do you think the health industry and the supplement industry and sports industry found I need to make something to cause people to be able to gain weight? Why?
Mm.
because everybody can't lose, everybody can't gain at the same rate. So
That's
if
right.
you don't know your family history, you need to know. I
Okay.
started paying attention to what it was with mine. And as I got older, I really started one. I'm like, okay, let me make sure um, some of these things that may have affected some of my family, don't have to affect me. I
Right.
look at, if he was watching, he wouldn't mind. My dad, Lord willing, later this month will be 81 years old. And if you were to see my dad, most people would think, wow, how is he still looking this good? How does he still get around? He's one person who genetically was not affected by the things that affected his other siblings. Growing up in the country, they all ate the same things, they did the same things, but it bypassed him. And then when he learned what would work for him and what wouldn't work for him, he made some adjustments. So now at almost 81, he doesn't need a cane, hasn't had hip replacements, hasn't had knee replacements, not on diabetes, has no kidney issues, has no high blood pressure issues, and is living life.
Yeah. And
So
he looks amazing.
yeah,
He is
he
doing it.
it,
And
it,
recently married. Shout out to Pastor Pendleton doing his thing.
it
Josie,
was
you mentioned one thing. I want you to go back and hit on for me. By the way, family, this is him 24/7. God bless his wife. One thing that you know is your heart and your passion for the faith based community and for the fitness community. I want you to, if you could, you talked about the numbers, that being the body mass index numbers, the BMI, for folks who know that chart where it says that if you're this age, this height, you should be this weight. When you share your thought about you don't necessarily agree with that, share more because this platform has many cultures. We're worldwide on this with this show and with this network, so we don't just cater to a minority community, but all viewers, right? Like we're all in the same, in different skin, but we all function the same.
right.
Tell us, if you will, how can someone get to the place if they're not supposed to look at the body mass index and the numbers? Let's say they move that to the side. How will they know they're in a healthy place if the goal is to live healthy?
One, understand you. Everyone knows whatever your ethnic background may be, what you're predisposed to. Um, if without being disparaging, without seeming, to be skewed one way or another.
Mhm.
Most of us from the African American persuasion, we many of us tend to carry weight differently than those of the Hispanic nature. We carry Our metabolism is different from those from the Asian culture. But then within the Asian culture, you have different segments of the Asian culture. The the Chinese, Korean, Japanese, their body frames are different than what ours would be. And so you may want to look at them and say, well, they're small, they're slim, their frame isn't big. But yet, some of those very ones still suffer with diabetes, still suffer with high blood pressure, still suffer with those type of physical problems. So the scale, the BMI scale, may not say that they are unhealthy, but again, because of their genetic makeup, when they go to the doctors, they see, hey, my A1C is off the charts, but I only weigh 150 pounds. Okay, they have tried to live their life okay, and then what happens? They develop type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is a little different because that's something that you were generally born with. So you deal with that from day one, and
Right.
that's again based upon genetic makeup. But for us, the thing would be is the importance then is to have regular. conversations with your physicians, regular checkups with your physicians to get those numbers. Have your blood work done. And
right.
I stress to people, don't act like it's not here. Don't bury your head in the sand and act like, well, if I don't go do it, then nothing will happen. No. So many things have happened to people because they buried their head in the sand and said, well, if I don't get it checked, I don't know. So if I don't know, I must be all right. No. Then by the time they do go, by the time they find out, it's too late for something that could have been prevented.
Yeah, that ounce of prevention.
It leads
Right.
to a pound of
That
cure,
ounce
as
of
they used to.
prevention.
It is
Better
that
than a
ounce of
pound of
prevention.
cure. Yes, sir.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. If you
Yeah, it
go,
makes a difference.
everybody
Yeah.
should go to their doctor at least once a year. Man, woman, boy,
Physical.
girl, whatever. If you have
Yep.
children, if you are young children, before they go to school, they require you to take their child to the doctor to make sure they have their shots and all of their immunization. Why then should we as adults not go to find out? Let me make sure that everything is okay. Because if it's not, I would rather know at the beginning stages and I can do something about it, or then you telling me it's advanced so much and I didn't do anything about it. And now it's too late. No.
Man, you talking good stuff, sir. You talking. But again, I know this guy. This, if you want energy, this is Pastor Pendleton. He is the one. Listen, I want to, you have hit on so many things. You hit on how we need to check ourselves, how we need to check our family history, how we need to know even how our environment influences us. I want to go to a viewer question that
Sure.
we received. Before I do that, for folks who may not know, Mr. Pendleton himself is a weight trainer. He himself has competed in different competitions for weight, and you can talk more about that with the fact that we see how we each have different paths in life, right? And that yours actually, I'll put it this way, one of the things that you taught me that I hear all the time, Tammy, is not just about cardio and running. Because if you have a pair body, you're just going to be a smaller pair. You have to pick up the weights and move and shift and make yourself deplete and get to a better, stronger place,
Yes.
especially as we age. I hear it every day. Okay, so here's the question. One of the things, the question we received from a viewer,
Mhm.
you're going to love this one. This is another thing you talk about a lot. It's on detoxing. I was holding this question just for you. I don't have a lot of money. Here's the question. And there's a lot of options. What do you recommend that I can do just from home?
Okay. Then my
Detox.
follow-up first question would be, are you speaking of what can you do from home from an exercise perspective, or what can you do, what you need to do from home from a nutrition perspective? Okay. Contrary to popular demand. Okay. And I'm an advocate for weightlifting. I'm an advocate for moving your body and so forth. The biggest issue that we have, and the biggest issue that whomever, would have written this, is going to be your nutrition. It's going to be what you do at home. Okay. It's not the weights. That's the easy part. The hard, because think about it, the easy part, the hard part for many is controlling what they put in their mouths. Going to the gym, working out for an hour and a half out of a 24-hour day is small, 1%. What do you do with that remaining 22 and a half hours that you are not in the gym?
I am so glad you said that, because people think that if I could just get to the gym and work out an hour, that's an answer. But this particular person talking about detoxing is bigger than just a drink. Please keep going. You're talking, sir.
Because see, here's, without sounding high and mighty, first detox has to happen is up here. You have to change how you view food. You have to change how you view what you put in your body. Okay. If that doesn't change, it doesn't matter how much you work out. How do I know that? I did that. I was that guy. Okay. I've been working out since I was 12 years old. 12. My dad bought, I remember we were living in Upper Marlboro. And I remember one Christmas, I got this big box downstairs. I tear open the paper, and it's a weight set. Anybody who's lifted weights as a kid, you know, you got the gray cement filled weights. Had a little weight bench. One time I put all the weights on there and had it on the bar, and the whole bench tipped over. But I've been doing this since I was 12. I stepped in my first weight room in high school at the age of 14 at school. Wasn't no more than just like a little bedroom that I called it, but it had weights in there, playing football. And I've been doing it. After I got out of school, I kept going to the gym, but I stopped focusing on what I was eating because I didn't have the same activity. So even though I was going to the gym, that lack of activity still caused my metabolism wasn't firing as much. As I got older, it slowed down. So I'm eating what I want. And at 18, I could eat what I want and the metabolism would still be going. But at 26, 27, 28, that metabolism slows down. But if that diet hasn't slowed down, guess what happened? The pounds started adding. So now, as I got older, I had to flip it. I had to detox my brain to understand that it's about how I view food first. Then what do I need to do? And it meant, all right, I can't eat burgers all the time. I can't eat fried foods all the time. Everything are building blocks upon each other. Okay. Understanding family history. That's a part of it. Because if your family history has a history of diabetes, if you have a history of high blood pressure, fried foods may not be the thing you need even in your 20s. And it's sure not the thing that you need in your 30s and 40s and 50s. Yes. So you've got to detox what you think about food. Now, if you've done that, all right, let's look in your kitchen. Get rid of the junk. Get rid of all the snacks. We snack too much. That's why I say, what are you doing with the remaining 22 and a half hours that you're not in the gym? 8 of it should be spent sleeping. We don't sleep enough. The body has to recover. So let's knock that off. What are we down to? 15, 16, 7 hours a day left? What are you putting in your mouth for that time period that you're awake? Knowing that everything that I put in my body has a consequence one way or another. So with the way that foods and snacks and things are done now, it's killing us. Yeah. That's not to say that we live life so perfectly that we don't partake in some of it. But it has to be, it's not even a balance. Okay? Because the balance says I do this much and I do this much the same. So I may work out this much, but I'm going to eat this much the same. Well, you're going to remain the same. Right. The balance has, the scales have to be tipped to the point of 80% of the time, I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to do what I need to do because I don't want these later health problems. So I may take, a particular day, I go out with my family, I may have something that I would have, but guess what? It doesn't snowball day after day after day. So we're looking at all these detox drinks. We're looking at, I can take this and it's going to flush out my system. Guess what? Do you know how much you will have to do to really flush out your system? In order to burn 1 pound of body fat, you have to burn 3,500 calories. You're not going to drink enough smoothies to do that. If so, most of your day will be spent in your bathroom.
In the bathroom.
Okay? So you have to rethink what you put in. Okay? If you're having these health issues, increase your fiber, increase your grains, lower that sugar. Be careful even with fruits. If you have diabetes, ask any diabetes expert. They will tell you you must be careful with fruit or leave
And
it alone
carbs.
all
Yep.
alone. Your carbs, you gotta monitor it.
Yep.
Detox
Yep.
drinks are it's not the way to go. It's a okay solution to jumpstart you, but it's not something that you need to use long term.
So if folks say, I just don't know where to start. I hear what you're saying. Okay, so I'm gonna look at my refrigerator. Okay, I want to remove snacks, but I start to crash at 3. I need something. Okay, all right, I'm gonna make the appointment, and they start creating this list, which again is what you have all of your people do. I just want everybody to know that if you ever sign up to be a client of Mr. Pendleton's, he doesn't even talk to you about working out in the gym first. You have to pull out a pen and a piece of paper and write down everything you've eaten
I
for
want to know
7
what goes in your
days.
mouth.
That before we even hit the gym.
Because if you haven't controlled what you put in your mouth, going to the gym is not going to work for you. Because again, lift weights, but if you don't have your nutrition right, you're not going to change. The whole idea of weightlifting is to change your body. The whole idea of dieting, and which is really the bad word, which causes anxiety for people. It's not really dieting. It's lifestyle change. That's the thing. You have to learn a new way of living if you want to have a different life. My wife has educated me on dialysis a lot. She worked for over 20 years in the dialysis field, and she knows it in and out. And I would listen to her conversations that she would have with some of her dialysis patients, and a lot of them, it's a shock to the system when they learn that they need to have dialysis. For many, and one thing that she always stressed to them is, one, dialysis does not kill you, okay, but dialysis can prolong your life by doing it. So what you have to understand is that it is now a new way of living. So if you need to be on dialysis, you schedule what you need to schedule, do what you need to do, and make sure you get your dialysis as often as you need to so that you can continue to live. It's an adjustment that has to be made. Many times we don't want to make adjustments.
Until we have to,
Until
until
we
it's
have to.
forced,
Right.
man. And you're absolutely right. I watch you work with, and I just want to be clear for my audience. This gentleman has worked with people from many ethnicities and
It
many
doesn't matter.
cultures. But your heart, being a church boy, to want to help your people, being
Yeah.
a preacher's kid with your dad being a pastor,
Mhm.
to want to help your people is admirable. I want to go to another part of your journey that I know you're very vocal about, and that's recovering from injury. Before I let you go, I have to ask you, for those folks who may be watching, you've helped your family, your son when he was injured in football. You've recovered from injury yourself, and then you work with folks who are recovering. I know myself when you were coaching me, I had a shock when the very first thing you said was, I'm all prepared thinking I have to start putting this on a treadmill or start with weights. And you said, it's a pool day. You're not doing anything but getting in the water. And it made me even think about how water could be different to healthcare. So I want to ask, recovery, folks who might be in places where they're dealing with their body and aging and the aches and pains and not sure of what to do. What are some tips that you recommend for folks other than take it slow? Other than talk to your doctor first, because I know that's what you're going to say first. But what tips do you have for folks that are just trying to figure it out and don't have a personal trainer around?
Well, one, know your limitations. Do
Mm,
something. Find out what your body will allow you to do, and then make your adjustments from it. Okay. If you're a person who possibly, if you've had knee issues or hip issues, you know, going outside, walking up and down the sidewalk may not be the thing that you need to do. Trying to say that you need to walk up and down a bunch of stairs with hip replacements until it's finally, really healed right, may not be the thing you need to do. But there are things that you can do at home to start to stimulate the blood flow to those injured areas. that will help heal whatever your ailment is. Now, I still got to go back and say, if you don't know what caused it or what it is, by all means, please see your doctor, orthopedic, somebody of that nature who can diagnose it properly and give you what you need. If you need a brace, wear a brace. If you don't, okay. If it's just a matter of, he said, I'm having some swelling in my extremities, okay, chances are you're not moving enough. Number 2 issue, you're probably not drinking enough water if you don't have diabetes. If you have, not diabetes, kidney issues. If you have kidney issues, okay, please monitor what you drink. Unless you are, you have your dialysis. If you're, I believe it's called peritoneal dialysis, to where you can do dialysis literally every day at home and so forth. But so you got to monitor it. But if you don't have diabetes or kidney issues, but you're suffering with some water retention and swelling, chances are you're not drinking enough water. Water helps lubricate those joints, believe it or not, so that you can move around. Those are the things that help with recovery. Okay, if you're having shoulder issues, things like that, ain't no need in you going to try to pick up a weight. No, look in your closet, in your cabinet, your pantry, or what have you. Grab that can of peas or whatever you got in there and start to move them. Start to push something. Start to get those joints moving around. And you will find out that once you start doing that, your body will start to feel better. Make that dietary adjustment. Put those sodas down, those high sugary drinks down, that juice down. Get you some water first thing in the morning. Take you some water, squeeze you some lemon juice in it, and drink that first. That jump starts the kidneys and the digestive system.
Yeah.
If you want to add some boil and some ginger, add that too. If you, a lot of these flavored waters, you got lemons and oranges and all. Okay, you can do it if you want to. But simple lemon and water is great for the kidneys. It'll help start to flush out your system. That's part of your detox. It's not so much that you got to go buy these detox powders and formula. No. Start with, let me start cleaning out my kidneys and my digestive tract with that. Let me eat more leafy greens with my food and put some of those carbs down.
Wow.
Let's limit that rice. Let's set the pasta aside for maybe, once a week or once every 2 weeks and go that way. Let's put those white potatoes down. And I'm saying that because these are foods that we cook. I mean, I can go to the fast foods, but I think we already know. The fast foods, no. If you're trying to make changes, leave the fast food alone completely.
Yeah, you
But
can't
things
because
that
you don't
we
know
cook,
what they make it with. Yeah.
leave that rice alone. Too much of that starchy rice, those white potatoes, stuff like those pastas, those sugars, those chocolates, those cookies, potatoes, stuff that we keep in our house. Why do you think the grocery store aisle, from the front of the aisle to the back of the aisle, has every cookie that you can imagine?
Yeah.
Cookies and chips on the same aisle. One on one side, one on the other side. Stay out of that aisle.
Stay out of the aisle. I love it. You are just such a powerhouse and a wealth of information. I
Let me
can't
give you this
thank
one real quick, Dan. I'm sorry.
Please,
If you want
please.
to do fruits, stick to anything that ends with berry. Strawberries, blackberries, raspberries. Okay? Primarily. They will keep your sugar levels from spiking. Your glycemic levels will not spike as high. Strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, watermelon is good too. Especially for you men. As men, watermelon is great. That's a whole nother men's discussion that we can have at another time.
Then you be coming back to have that discussion.
Because as you approach, there are so many topics that we call them taboo and things we don't want to talk about. Yes, men have prostate issues that need to be dealt with, and if you don't deal with it, your urologist will.
Come on, sir. Well, and you're not finished yet because I know I have to let you go.
Let me
I'm
just
kind of
drop
over
that one
time.
out.
You can drop it. That was a big one. But I have to ask this. The whole pastor side of you, I can't let you go without sharing inspiration with our people. I know that you use your voice on a regular basis, one on one. I mean, I've seen you with kids and seniors just loving up folks, being a voice in the community, without fear for who they are, just showing love first. And there is someone that might be watching that just needs some hope. Please close us. I give you 60 more seconds to share some hope with someone,
Sure.
if you will.
The Bible says that know you not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost. And a lot of times we spend so much time perfecting, our natural temples, our homes. We try to make sure our homes are clean. We try to make sure our cars are clean, our surroundings. God says that my desire for you is that you prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. We can't be fully prosperous. We can't be effective as we want to be if our inner man, if our bodies aren't firing, I'll say, on 100. There are things that we may not feel, we may not be able to understand, things that may come up, but let's do what we can do. If our body is the temple of the Holy Ghost and God, whatever your belief may be, you he resides in you, then you've got to make sure he has a clean place to live. You wouldn't want
Wow.
someone to come into your natural house and your natural house isn't clean up to par. Let's treat our bodies the same way. Because I say it, if I want to be effective, I need to be at my best. I can't be at my best if my body is not allowing me to be. And then I have to, why isn't it allowing me to be? It goes back to what am I putting in? What am I feeding my body? If I feed my mind junk, mine comes out. If I feed my body naturally good foods, I cannot help but feel naturally good. Okay? The Bible says, as a man speaketh in his heart, so is he. So therefore, whatever I see comes out. Whatever I
Yes.
think can come out. But those things are taken in by my surroundings. So if I want myself to change, what I feed myself has to change, both spiritually, both naturally. It takes discipline, it takes commitment, but we serve a God who is able to give us what we ask for. If you want to live better, say, God, I'm struggling with this. Be honest. I'm struggling with this. I need you to help me, and he will help you. If not, I'm around. Call me, email me.
You're a good substitute. There's his email, family, Chauncey Pendleton at gmail.com. If you're on the Book of Facebook, you can just put his name in, Chauncey Pendleton, and you can DM him directly.
Yeah,
Sir, thank you for doing what you do right here on the Power Up. We appreciate you because you both educated us today and inspired us. And I'm truly grateful, my friend, for you
I thank
taking the
you.
time. Tell
Anything
your
for you.
wife thank you for letting you come and play today. We
Absolutely.
appreciate all that she does. Listen, he get dropped some tangible tips. I couldn't write fast enough, but check this out. He's coming back. So you'll see him in a few episodes. Have a great one, Chauncey. Family, stay tuned.
Thank you.
There's
Much love,
more
Tami. God
after
bless you.
this.
Hey everybody, this is Regina Hutt, the wellness practitioner on Empowered Mornings. We'd like to invite you every Wednesday night, 8 p.m., uniquely and gorgeous, to keep your mind locked and loaded on WIN Network.
Wow, what an amazing show today. Family, I don't know about you, but I sure feel empowered and ready to elevate and empower others around me. We're so glad you joined us today, where we started with Inside the News, taking a minute to share new information shared by the National Institute of Health and how metformin, those who use the drug metformin, the adults with diabetes, how results have shown that it's linked to lowering the risk of long COVID. Doesn't mean you won't have it, just means you won't suffer as we used to before. Thank you to all of those who took part in that clinical trial, just so that we and generations to come can be better. And happy 75th anniversary to the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases. Wow, what great work you've done for 75 years. Go to www.niddk.nih.gov to get this information and so much more. Family, then we were joined, you heard him, by the powerhouse himself, Chauncey Pendleton, who has done so much in fitness training, in kinesiology, as a health and wellness advocate across the globe. We're excited that he took time to join us today. As you can tell, just from me sharing one statistic, he was off. This is something that he lives by, as we should all be with our purposes. We hope you are educated. We learned about how you shouldn't just focus on numbers, but you should make sure that your doctor is the one that feeds you information, that you talk to your family and learn your family health. He recommends that you get an annual physical. That blood work is key to helping you prevent diseases and disorders, helping you understand you might be pre-diabetic and have an opportunity to put lifestyle changes in place so you don't have to become a diabetic and even ever worry about what that means to maintain your health. Everything is important with what you do to care for your organs. You're the only you that's here. And I'm grateful that he also took an opportunity to answer one of our viewer questions about detoxing. His response: detoxing starts with your mind. Now, how many health professionals do you know would say that? We get so caught up in commercials for detox drugs and for fitness quick fixes. And it really starts with daily habits. And as he said, how you see food. Family, I'm going to stick with one of his final closing comments. Junk in, junk out. Mentally, spiritually, physically. We have to do what we can to be the best us so we can win at life and empower everyone to come, the next generations and the kids around us that are watching us. They're going to learn good habits by what they see you doing. Reading labels, not putting salt on your food, looking at how much sugar you put in what you drink, not bringing sodas in the house, to figure it out what you can. One of the other things I appreciate that Chauncey shared, moderation is everything. He didn't say you couldn't have the pasta. He said consider it once a week. Consider adding salads. Consider figuring out, am I going to have a potato night that's not including a rice night, so that you can allow your system to get refreshed. And he mentioned how important rest is. I appreciate his honesty. He's somebody that I would call a gym head. This brother lives in the gym. However, he broke that clock down to show 24 hours a day. He doesn't. He commits his hour to whatever he decides he's going to focus on. And as he challenged us, what do you do with the other 20 plus hours? Because that's what makes you the better you. Thank you for joining us, Pastor Pendleton. We appreciate you and look forward to having you back. Family, we will not close this show today without making sure that we honor and remember the March on Washington. It took place this time of year in 1963 as a result of violent attacks on civil rights demonstrations in Birmingham, Alabama. We had many of the leaders from the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, including Dr. King and A. Philip Randolph, who actually met with President Kennedy about what they could do to help advocate for the rights of others. Because of the March on Washington, you all need to know that while Congress decided to make a difference and abolish one key group, The March on Washington made a difference in fair treatment and equality, equal opportunities for Black Americans, as well as advocating for the passage of the Civil Rights Act that was later installed by Congress. Sometimes you've got to take your voice to the streets, doing it in a safe, respectful way that gets people to hear versus just deciding violence is the only way you can get someone's attention. I applaud the fact that in the absence of all that was going on during those days, that over family, 300,000 people, they gathered in the Lincoln Memorial, the March on Washington. Let me give you this other tip. It was strategically planned that the march would go and end at the Lincoln Memorial to ensure members of Congress who didn't support it did not feel threatened. The march did not go that way. Strategically, come on, family, we're going to learn and be equipped and educated together. It ended at the Lincoln Memorial to show unity and peace that then resulted in an entire act that made a difference and opened doors in many ways. Family, your voice matters. And we hope that most importantly, you also know that your purpose in the earth is what we need now more than ever. It doesn't matter if someone else is doing it. Chauncey's in the gym with a whole lot of other people. He's surrounded by a lot of personal trainers and advocates and everybody else, medical professionals in health and fitness. Doesn't stop him from doing what's in him to be done to help somebody else. Everybody in the world has a platform and ability to start a blog or a show. Didn't stop me when offered the opportunity to just empower you for a few hours in the day. Family, make sure that you tune into our show regularly to get information and inspiration. And as always, we want to end by thanking our emergency responders, first responders, and those who put themselves in harm's way every minute of the day. I have the opportunity to work with law enforcement, and literally they go from one call to another. They don't know when they're going to eat during the day. They grab it and run, and they don't know what scene or pursuit or assistance they are prepared to handle. Yet we thank them. We thank our military, our healthcare providers, teachers who are educating our babies, caregivers who care for our parents, all those and whatever you do in your neighborhood to make a difference. And yes, to our veterans and active military and families who protect our borders just so we can all be different and disagree. We thank you. Family, we hope this power up was so wonderful to you. It helped you to learn a few things. Go learn more about NIDDK and the resources that they have. Feel free to send us inquiries. We're going to respond to your questions, and we're going to continue to bring you the best of the best as we have guests on our shows. We're here only to power up you. Thank you to the producers of the We Empower Network who make sure that we are on top of this game and we are making a difference worldwide. Family, you take care. We'll see you next time.